Okay, I just want to tell you a little story about the XSS Auditor because I think it gives a good idea about some aspects of security. So Google Chrome, the browser, had a so-called XSS Auditor that was in place to prevent cross-site scripting attacks. It's not in the browser anymore, it got removed. And the removal of this started by a ticket opened by EVN, it's actually the organizer of the Google CTF, Eduardo Vela. Pretty good security researcher. And it starts with, we haven't found any evidence that the XSS Auditor stops any XSS. And this coincides with my understanding of the XSS Auditor's security. So what happened was Google realized that cross-site scripting is a common problem, and they introduced as a countermeasure every time if there's something in the URL line that is reflected on the website, we're going to mark it as potential cross-site scripting, and then we're not going to execute this code that was reflected on the website. So the problem with this approach was that it could essentially always be bypassed. And as Eduardo Vela mentions in a post later in this discussion, he said, okay, in our team we had a look and we managed to bypass the XSS Auditor 100% of the times. So it didn't help. Why should we disable it anyways? Like, okay, it doesn't help, it can be bypassed, but it doesn't hurt, right? Well, it does hurt. It hurts a lot because it gives the user and the programmer a false sense of security. So what he says here is, we found cases where developers struggled to reproduce the bug before we provided the bypass. So essentially, web developers said, okay, cross-site scripting is a problem we no longer have to worry about because the browser deals with it. The browser has an XSS Auditor, so we don't have to sanitize our input. The browser will fix it for us, and therefore even more websites became vulnerable to cross-site scripting because the developers depended on the XSS Auditor, and the XSS Auditor could always be bypassed. So this gives you an idea of a common problem in security, that is, giving people a false sense of security is often worse than not giving them a sense of security at all. So that's why actually Google in the end completely removed the XSS Auditor from Chrome again, which is what I think the correct choice.